Good morning. Elle here at pressure-free.com, getting everything set up here. It's a Monday. It's a little bit of a messy Monday, that's for sure. If you saw my post yesterday, you'll understand why. Focused on the future this morning, though, and newsflash, I'm going to start class 2 of the Pressure-Free Living Certification Coaching Program in July, and I'm taking applications now. It's first come, first serve, and I have a limited number of spots for this class because I like these classes to be very intimate, so we all get to really know each other and support each other. Why would you want to do this? So the certification program is for anybody who helps other people. It could be educators, coaches in business, life coaches, athletic coaches, counselors, mental health professionals of any kind, psychiatrists. If you want to go through the certification program as a parent because you want to really dig in and have all of the extra, oops, I got a little wave this morning. Hopefully we're okay. All of the extra encouragement and understanding that I provide my certification clients versus being my private client. Those are two very different things, because I'll also be teaching you how to teach this method to others. So really anyone that helps other people is perfect for this certification program. The people I have in right now help everyone from preschoolers and young children to athletes to insurance agents. So it's a real, really open for who can actually be, personal trainers too would gain so much from being a part of this. I have some personal trainers who are in this program as well. So just wanted to give a heads up about that. And now let's launch into today's content. So for the next 5 days, I'm going to share something internal that primes the pump, if you will. You know, if you start a lawnmower or the gas bulb in a small motorboat, you know, you got to prime the pump before the gas turns on. Well, in this case, it's a pump you don't want to prime, because this priming really sets you on edge to trigger the stress response. And I just gave the full mind session to the certification premier class last night. And that's what prompted me to say, you know, I need to teach some of this content here on my lives for free for you. So today, the first one that we're going to talk about is complaining. What I encourage you to do over the next week or two is just gently notice when you're starting to move into any sort of complaining. Complaining is contagious, number one. If you've been in any sort of a work environment, you'll notice how if one person starts complaining, then more people start complaining, and finally a whole department might be complaining about something. I've watched it happen. I watched one person start a whole situation in a company that actually took down the leader of the company. It was crazy. So complaining is the first seed of it. It's rather sneaky how much we will complain. In fact, with all these things I'm going to teach this week, they sneak into you and suddenly you're doing them. So with complaining, you'll want to watch for habitual complaining. So is there something that pretty much every day you complain about? If you can start with that, that's going to free up some energy for you in a pretty major way. What happens when we start complaining is our face usually gets a little tight. Tension starts to build in the shoulders. You know, we're like snarky, I can't believe this is happening, whatever you're complaining about. And the heart rate can start to go. So you might not necessarily trigger fight or flight, but it could be the very next thing that happens it does, like a phone jangling, or so sound or something environment, or your boss calls you, or you know, something else will actually cause the trigger, the actual stress response in you. But the complaining primes you. You're on edge, your heartbeat's a little accelerated, you're poised to go over the edge. And that's why you want to watch out for it. So start with habitual things, if you can notice some habitual things. And then you can go into some of the more subtle, more deeper ones. I definitely move into complaining if technology doesn't work. Any sort of technology, any sort of a, you press something or you plug something in and it doesn't work, or the internet goes unstable. That used to be a trigger for me. Every time I was on a Zoom and the internet would go unstable, I would feel my heart rate start to accelerate and I'd start to complain in my head. And that brings me to my next point. So there's the verbal complaints, the ones you say with your mouth, but you can really get deep when you listen to the ones in your head. I was working with, actually, I read the book by Will Bowen called The Complaint-Free World. This would have been about 2013. And I think that's when I read this book, because my middle son was, we didn't have a hockey team of his age group in Battle Creek, so I had to take him about 30 miles away for practices, home games, and then all the away games were in Metro Detroit, like hours away from where we lived, every single weekend. And my husband was coaching one of our other sons, so I was the parent with my middle son, Ned. We had a great season. It was really fun for the two of us to spend so much time together. But the very first day that I was working on my complaint-free life, I was using a set of rings that I would transfer back and forth every time I triggered the stress response. And that was a Saturday that I thought, oh, a Saturday I'll have less complaining, right? It'll be easier. No, it wasn't easier. At that hockey game, and I was being tough with myself, even if I just thought the complaint, I switched my rings. I had to switch my rings over 20 times in a 60-minute hockey game of 13-year-olds, or however old they were. No, well, let's see, Ned was 13, so it wasn't 2013, it was way before then. so it was like 13 times I'm switching back and forth. That's crazy. It was pretty crazy, and it was so eye-opening to me. Of course, hockey parents, we can get a little out of control. It's like, pass the puck, and that was my face, right? I don't know what it is about hockey. You have permission to yell for your own kid, about your own kid, about any kid on the ice, any team. Like it's just that culture, right? So I was just catching myself complaining constantly about stuff going on in the ice, or refs not calling something. It was really eye-opening to me. And so that began my journey. That was day one of trying to go 21 days without complaining. And I can't say that I was completely successful in that. However, watching my complaining change and shift and get far less, here's what opens up for you: time. And in fact, with all 5 of these things I'm going to share, every one of these that you decide to work on, you will gain more time in your day. When I was working on this, I actually gained, really, it was an hour and a half to 2 hours in the very first year of Pressure Free, using these particular tools, noticing these particular things. So when you complain, you can go to some of the basic Pressure Free tools, but one of the tools that I used right away was just zip my lips. Just get quiet. If I didn't voice the complaint, the heart rate wouldn't go up quite so much. So I just got a little more quiet. I've done that over times in my life. In fact, way before Pressure Free, one summer I went back to New Hampshire to see my folks with our family, and everyone had descended on this small lake house, and it can get kind of crazy. And I decided just to be a little more quiet that year and really listen to people, because all of us have big energy. Hysteric girls, big energy. So I just got quiet. My mother goes, "You're awfully quiet this summer." And I said, "Yeah, that's intentional. I'm listening more." And it was a beautiful thing to do. So when you feel yourself complaining, just be quiet for a moment and let it pass. And you'll notice that you will be in far less of a negative mindset when you release some of that complaining. I hope this is helpful. It was majorly helpful to me in my life to reduce complaining. gain more time because time is precious. And then you have time, you can do things that you want to do instead of being locked in negativity. By the way, with all of these 5 things we're going to talk about this week, what we're aiming to do is up level our mindset. So optimal mindset is what I'm always working on with my clients. Not so much negative, positive, but just it's really more optimal. So this is really functioning well because stress hormones destroy this. They kill neurons. They kill your neurons. Millions of them are weakened or destroyed every time you trigger fight or flight. So let's power up this brain. It's going to be able to do amazing things for you. You're going to start to feel pretty limitless after a while. That's what some of my clients say. They're like, I feel limitless. I can do so much. I've got a client who's giving a TED talk right now. So it's just so cool to see what can happen when you are freed up. Wishing you a great pressure-free day. If you're interested in pressure-free certification, just send me a direct message or go to speakwithelle.com. Let's talk and let's get you in this program so that we can have a ripple effect and help millions of people across the world become pressure-free. Have a great day.